to invite on dais none other than the living legend herself, Dr. Kamini Rao, Medical Director, Milann Fertility Center. Although she needs no introduction, but just to list it, she is credited with the birth of India's first SIFT baby. She has the distinction of having set up South India's first semen bank, as well as having engineered South India's first babies born through ICSI and laser-assisted hatching. She was awarded Padma Shri in 2014, Karnataka State Award for her invaluable service in the field of medicine, Vidya Ratna Award for invaluable service in the field of medicine. Please welcome on stage Dr. Kamini Rao, ma'am.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome you for this event, and this is almost a homecoming to come to Delhi. As they say, Dilli dur nahi, we are all here with you. The largest number of my students are present, and I also thought, with so many of them here, why not open a center here? And therefore, the center here in Delhi will be second to none. It will have cutting-edge technology, it will have the best doctors working for this center, and I would like to look forward to cooperation from all of you, because I have always believed in an inclusive approach to any of the events that I do. And here too also, I would like to tell all the doctors here that those who want to come in and utilize the facilities of the center, the doors are always open. We would like you to learn, we'd like you to grow, we'd like Milann to grow as well. And this is a facility dedicated to Delhi and dedicated to the people of Delhi. And I would like to thank Dr. Sonu Talwar, who will be heading this center and has a team of almost 50 people, all dedicated and hand-chosen by her and Nelson. And I'm sure we from the Milann family wish Nelson and Sonu Talwar and the entire team at Milann Delhi all the very best.
May I now please call upon stage Dr. Sandeep Talwar, Clinical Director, Milann Delhi, to felicitate Dr. Kamini Rao, ma'am. With this, we declare our clinical meet open. Now Dr. Kamini will share her knowledge and experiences on recent advances in ART with us.
We know for sure that the drugs for stimulation is one of the areas where we have seen a lot of advances. And why should we see advances in drugs for stimulation? It's only because of the ease of administration. The second thing is the investigations. The third part is the laboratory, and the last is of course surgery. And let's look at the drugs which are the long-acting drugs, and that is the polytropin alpha. It is an alpha subunit of human FSH and the beta subunit of the human FSH, which is fused together, and the carboxy-terminal peptide of the human HCG is something that allows for the FSH to act for over a period of 7 days. So if you are giving a single dose of the polytropin, it will be equivalent of almost 7 days of giving 150 units of recombinant FSH. So which means that the ease of administration becomes very, very patient friendly, and therefore one has to look at this to come into the market, because it's already being used in the rest of the world. It has to have the DCGI clearance, which is very much on the cards now, and very soon we will see the long-acting FSH coming into the market. So what were the trials that have been done as far as the polytropin is concerned? The ENGAGE trial has shown that no statistically significant difference was observed on the ongoing pregnancy rate for polytropin alpha versus the recombinant FSH. There was also an evidence of an increased ovarian response and the risk of OHSS in polytropin alpha. But the ENSURE trial shows that a single injection of 100 micrograms of polytropin alpha had a safety profile comparable to a daily dose of 150 units of recombinant FSH in terms of the incidence and the type of reported serious adverse effects. It was comparable. So therefore, the safety has been established. Then of course we came to the trust trial here, and the safety issues looked at the immunogenicity, the adverse events and incidence of ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome and multiple pregnancies. No statistically significance in the Phi alpha and the recombinant FSH regarding these parameters. So what about even pergoveris? Now this is a recombinant LH, and I'm sure all of us, when we actually stimulate with recombinant FSH, the last few days we tend to add HMG. However, in some of the poor responders, you do not see that good quality eggs. So therefore, if you are looking at giving about 300 of recombinant FSH on day 2 of the cycle, one can actually look at a 150 of pergoveris as well as a 150 of recombinant FSH, and you will see that the quality of those eggs certainly are better, rather than having to give it only towards the end, by which time the egg quality may not be good. Now I must add here that it is not that every patient needs this. It is only some of those select patients where when you given the HMG and you find when you aspirate these oocytes that the quality is not that good, it's worthwhile trying this particular product. But I must add a word of caution here that not everybody needs the recombinant FSH. What does the SPART study say? A phase 3 multicentric randomized controlled trial to assess the efficacy and safety of pergoveris versus the gonal F, and for multifollicular development in 4 ovarian responders, and a primary endpoint is total number of retrieved oocytes. So what happened was with the last study that there was absolutely no difference with the recombinant FSH as well as with the corifolotropin and with the pergoveris. Now, we also have the granulocyte colony stimulating factor, the GCSF. It is usually used for patients with chronically thin endometrium and which are less than 7 millimeters and which leads to cancellation of the embryo transfer. The GCSF is a glycoprotein with a growth factor and a cytokine function and is produced in the different cells including the epithelium, macrophages and other immunocytes. GCSF enhances the cyclic AMP mediated residualization of human endometrial cells, stromal cells, in both an autocrine and a parasite fashion. Now we have had experience with GCSF, and I must say in thin endometrium which does not have any pathology. Now if you have some pathology, of course a hysteroscopy is required. You need to ensure that it is not due to synechiae or scars or even infection. You must clear the infection, and in those cases where all that has been cleared and you still have a thin endometrium, GCSF has known to play an important role in improving the thickness of the endometrium. A pilot cohort study of granulocyte colony stimulating factor in the treatment of unresponsive thin endometrium resistant to standard therapy by Gleicher et al. showed that with an endometrium of 5.2 and even up to 1.9 days, endometrial thickness has increased to 6.4 to even up to 9.3 on the day of embryo transfer. So therefore, in indicated and properly selected cases, filgrastim does have a role in thin endometrium. Now this SPLAT study, the alloimmunization, time and again this study has been coming up and it is already being discarded as of no evidence. It's indicated in recurrent implantation failures, and of course in this case we take about 20 ml of the male partner's blood and it's processed by repeated centrifugation, and the processed sample is injected into the axilla of the female partner, and about 3 to 4 doses on a weekly basis is required. Now what was the basis for this was to say that if the embryo which contains the male protein, and the body is rejecting that because it is considered as a foreign body, why do we not immunize the woman through the sperm protein? And this was the basis where they took the lymphocytes and only injected the lymphocytes subcutaneously in the woman week after week for 4 weeks. What happened after that was that those who had repeated abortions, a fair number of them continued the pregnancies, and so also with implantation failures. Now the next one is of course the ERA. I'm sure all of you are aware of the ERA. It's a personalized genetic test to diagnose the state of the endometrial receptivity in the window of implantation. We are all aware that we can get good embryos. The blastulation rate is very good. But what happens is when you put this blastocyst, you still do not get a pregnancy in spite of having a morphologically good embryo. So what happens here is to look at what is the receptivity of that endometrium to that embryo, and do we have the right day that we transfer this embryo. The endometrial biopsy must be done on the 5th day of progesterone therapy or LH plus 7. And the expression of almost 238 genes are analyzed. The indication is at least 3 paired embryo transfer for a young woman or 2 in women over 37 or above. So this becomes a very personalized embryo transfer as the treatment for patients with repeated implantation failure. It can either be non-receptive or it can be receptive. If it's non-receptive, it can be pre-receptive or post-receptive, which basically tells you either advance the day of embryo transfer or you postpone the day of embryo transfer depending on the integral expression in the endometrium. The limitation of the study is the fact that it is expensive, and when you get a pre-receptive or post-receptive, you have to repeat this test once again to make sure you're on the right visit, and then do it in the next cycle, like almost mirror imaging the previous cycle and put these embryos in. It certainly has a role, particularly in very select cases where you have implantation failures, and certainly if you've also done a PGT or a PGS, for example, it's seen that these normal, so-called normal embryos are also karyotypically normal, then you can theoretically bring the results of of embryo transfers to over 50%. Now, the new things on the horizon is the NK cell biopsy. The NK cell activity in the endometrium, we must understand that the immune system has 2 main mechanisms, the cellular type 1 and the antibody type 2. In normal pregnancy, the mother's immune system has a type 2 dominant response. So therefore, this type 1 response are potentially more dangerous for the pregnancy. Hence, the type 1 mediated diseases like rheumatoid arthritis actually get better during pregnancy, and the type 2 mediated diseases like SLE tend to get worse. And these NK cells are lymphocytes which tend to have a macrophage kind of activity and engulf the embryo. So if you are able to identify and quantify the level of NK cell activity in the endometrium, what would you do in such a situation? So, if you are going to treat a person who has got a high NK cell, which is roughly around 20% in the endometrium, then treatment would again be granulocyte stimulating factor infusion and the intralipid infusion. This would help to bring down the NK cell population in the endometrium. Now the pre-implantation genetic testing. Who are the people that really need this test? These are people when you do a pre-implantation genetic testing or diagnosis. Diagnosis would mean that there is a pre-existing condition and therefore you will test for that condition, and there is no doubt about that. It is indicated, so you go ahead and do it. What about screening? Now, would you really want to screening on all those normal embryos? Now, if you had normal embryos as well as blastocysts, and we've still not had any pregnancies, yes, it's worthwhile looking at the karyotype of these embryos. And if you've got normal embryos, because in these blastocysts as well, you can have aneuploids as well. So if you put aneuploid blastocysts, then you're not going to get a pregnancy. But if these embryos have been proven to be euploidy, and those are the embryos you put back, then theoretically you will increase your implantation rate and not have to have a failure again. Of course, there is no 100% foolproof method to say that because these are euploid embryos that they will implant. But certainly your pregnancy rates can get higher. So what are the kind of analysis that you could do? The simple one is the FISH for chromosome analysis of about 5 chromosomes, which can be done very fast. The PCR is polymerase chain reaction for detecting single gene defects, and then the CGH as well for identification of whole chromosome aberrations. We also have the NGS at this point. So you will see that these are all the tests that we have for genetic erythropoiesis in situ hybridization. Then of course we also have looking at the analysis, genetic analysis to use to diagnose genetic diseases like high resolution binding site genetics, spectral karyotyping, and of course chromosomal painting. The concept of microarray comparative genomic hybridization is basically to tell us, are we looking at, say for example, a disomy, because the color changes that you see, the green one, the yellow one in the middle and the red one. The yellow one shows you normal chromosomal type, and the green one is the monosomy and the red one is the trisomy. So therefore you will be able to identify in these the entire chromosomal pattern, and genomic the comparative genomic hybridization was of course till about a year ago the final, like the Benz car as far as genetic analysis was concerned. However, I must say that we have the next generation sequencing, which is the NGS, and it can test simultaneously for chromosomal abnormalities, mitochondrial mutations, known as gene defects, and fingerprinting. Preferably it takes blastocyst biopsy, which is a pro-vector biopsy. So we have the test sequencing. I'm sure that going into about another, say, 2 to 3 years, most of the top IVF centers will also have this or outsource this to labs which will be able to do this. So you will be able to look at these embryos which are near perfect in terms of not a designer baby, but near perfect as far as genetic analysis is concerned, and thereby look for increasing the number of pregnancies and decreasing the number of embryos to be transferred. So I would like to say that apart from all this, at the end of the day, the limiting factor today is the endometrial receptivity. Embryos, we've come to a long way. We've had the best of embryos. So if we are to look at the lab and then say, can we sort of grade this lab, I would go on the blastulation rate. And the rate of blastulation, we would start as whether you would look at the number of follicles aspirated, to number of M2 oocytes, to number of 4 cell or number of 8 cell, and then blastocyst. So if you take it to the number of follicles, then you will know the efficiency of the clinician to be able to extract the eggs, and the number of eggs of M2 eggs will tell you how good your stimulation is. And then finally, when you get to blastocyst in the right time, you will be able to say that your lab is really and truly very well audited, and you get very good results. And if we can do this, I'm sure most of the labs will not have to worry about failures, because every week, every month, if you could have an audit of all these failed cases, you will be surprised as to how quickly you will be able to find out where the fault is. And that is what I would say. Apart from all the technology that we have, our clinical acumen is still the most important thing in IVF. And I can assure you that it is not too far a day when you can have almost 80% implantation with all the technology that we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an informative lecture. on stage. Dr. Sandeep Talwar, Clinical Director, Milann, Delhi. She is a leading infertility specialist in the city with more than 21 years of experience in infertility. She has performed more than 15,000 IVF cycles and endoscopic procedures. She has been awarded the Award of Academic Excellence by Delhi Medical Association. She has been actively involved in teaching DNB students and training fellow students in reproductive medicine. She has also been an examiner for Fellowship of Reproductive Medicine. She would be moderating a panel on recurrent pregnancy loss.
Thank you, Neetu, for the kind words, and thanks everybody for coming here. I would like to invite my panelists for the day, and Dr. Neeta Singh. Can you please come on the dais, please? Dr. Neeta Singh is Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and she's one of the first people to start IVF there. So Neeta, I can't go into your details of your CV, it will take a lot of time. So really thanks a lot for coming and accepting it at my invite at such a short notice. Thank you so much.
Dr. Neena Malhotra is Professor Obstetrics and Gynecology at All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Both of them are pioneers in IVF in the center there, and they have lot of publications, lots of papers, and everybody knows them. I don't need to introduce them at all. So they have been gracious enough to I just called them and they came. So I'm really grateful to them for just coming at such a small notice, as I call them. I would like to invite Dr. Mitra Saxena.
She's a practicing gynecologist. She has her own center, Obstetrics and Gynae Center in Rewari, and thank you so much for coming. I invite Dr. Surveen Guman.
Surveen is heading the IVF at Max Sake, and Surveen has written lots of books, lots of publications to her credit. Thanks, Surveen.
I invite Dr. Ila Gupta. She is heading the IVF Center at Artemis, and Ila is very academically oriented person, and I've known all of them now for very long, and they've been all very nice and accepting our invite to come at a very short.
So recurrent pregnancy losses is something which everybody of us is confronted with. You could be an IVF specialist, you could be a gynecologist. So all of us deal with recurrent pregnancy losses, and it's one of the most difficult and challenging situations to be confronted with. And we have a very nice panel, so I think we'll be very clear by the end of the day as to how do you deal with recurrent pregnancy losses and how should you be investigating them, what are the investigations, what does the evidence-based medicine say, and how are you supposed to be treating them. So I will go on to my panelists, and whoever would like to take, I'll start from Surveen like that. So how would you define recurrent pregnancy losses, and what is the incidence?
So, recurrent pregnancy loss by definition is pre-pregnancy losses, pre-clinical pregnancy losses. But very often people do take two and start investigating. The incidence is 1%, and the thing you have to see is it should be a clinical pregnancy loss. That means it should be either an ultrasound or a histopatch proven pregnancy.
What would you say would be the risk factors? Anybody? Neena, what do you say about this?
I would say the risk factors per se are very good. What we really understand from evidence is women who are smokers, they're high risk. Women who are in advanced stages are high risk. Again, intake of caffeine has also been put in as a high risk factor for recurrent pregnancy losses.
And of course, even alcohol in some, literature says an alcohol intake of more than 30 grams per day, or a caffeine more than 300 milligrams per day is one of the risk factors.
And of course, I would say there's a past history of pregnancy, so that really puts one at times.
Earlier, the maternal age only was implicated, but of lately, the paternal age is also implicated. If the age of the father is more than 45, is shown to increase the recurrent pregnancy loss.
So, what the evidence says is that advanced maternal age has been identified as a risk for miscarriage, and it's highest among couples in women, where women is more than 35 and man more than 40, as Neeta very rightly said. So this is incidence as related to age. So age is a very, very important factor. Number of previous miscarriages are very important. These are two independent risk factors for further and the further miscarriages if they've happened. So you've had a first incidence of a miscarriage, so it is a risk factor. So, and the risk reaches 40% after 3 miscarriages.
So actually, in other words, you can say that the chances of recurrent pregnancy loss increases with every pregnancy loss.
Exactly.
But if you want to make it a bit optimistic for counseling, you can say 60% the patient has a chance to have a normal pregnancy as well.
Exactly. Ida, how would you say, what is the etiology of recurrent pregnancy loss? How would you classify that?
According to the current evidence is most common in the uterine anomalies, then the genetic abnormalities and thrombophilic disorders. The other factors which will lead to recurrent abortion may be the immunological factors, endocrinological, and there are, like most of the cases, it can be unexplained also.
Which is the most difficult thing to then point, because if you have a risk factor, you can point a finger very good.
Recurrent pregnancy loss, you have to see, when does the recurrent pregnancy loss happen? If they are mostly in the first trimester recurrent pregnancy loss, it's not so much the uterine malformation, which is mainly the genetic factors and the autoimmune or the immunological factors. And if you have a second trimester pregnancy loss, then I would say mostly it is the uterine anomalies or the abnormalities in the cervix, like cervical components. They will be more contributing. But overall, as we have said, irrespective of which trimester the patient is aborting, these are the factors which are responsible. And about 40% of the patients, it is idiopathic. You may not be able to find any cause, and therefore you need to have a very, very good counseling for these kind of patients.
So what is the genetic association with recurrent pregnancy loss? What is?
The carriers of balanced transplantation and Robertsonian transplantations, if they are, if one of the parents is carried of these transformations, they are known to have rectal miscarriages in the family. So we need to, if we find that more than 2 miscarriages are happening, it is recommended to have a karyotype of the product of conception, and you may like to have a fluke from that. And it is also recommended if you have more than 2 losses, the couple should have to carry that in order to exclude any genetic abnormalities and the
The risk of euploid pregnancy loss increases. So that's a very important message. We're going treating each and everything by we're just going to come down. Antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, Mitra, would you say?
Actually, this is a very better condition which can be treated, and actually it can be investigated also. It is found that there are lots of antibodies
which cause problems at the time of implantation and interrupt the interface of the placental and the maternal transfer of nutrients, because these antibodies which we test are the anti-cardiolipin antibodies, the immunoglobulin IgG and IgM, then the lupus anticoagulant and anti-beta 2 glycoprotein 1. These are the main, there are lots and lots actually, but these are the ones which we routinely test in the acquired hemophilias, thrombophilias. So this is a treatable cause for recurrent pregnancy loss.
That's a very important thing.
I just like to add for Dr. Mitra that there are 2 types of thrombophilia. You have acquired or inherited thrombophilia. So the acquired ones, you can find out by doing the lupus and anti-cardiolipin antibodies. However, if you need to find the inherited thrombophilia, then you have to look at your classified mutations, protein C, protein S, antithrombin, and hyperhomocysteine. And as she mentioned, it's a very, very good cause if you find intersection and the outcome is very much good.
While we are investigating, while we are at it, we also have to look at the economics and also like not every patient will be having the inherited thrombophilia. It's the acquired thrombophilia. So in inherited cases, we have to see there has to be a history also. So this is where we will do because the test for protein S, protein C and all this is much more expensive. So we have to have a history also wherever the middle trimester losses are there recurrent. Because mostly the inherited thrombophilia can land out with either there is a history of any thrombotic event in a close relative, it's a very important point in history, and otherwise also we have a middle trimester late loss pregnancy loss, which is consecutive and recurrent, where we suspect inherited thrombophilia. Because this will not be the first line investigation in a case of recurrent pregnancy loss, unless it's a middle trimester loss. If it's a first trimester loss, we will go more for the acquired thrombosis.
There is also what the recommendations come that considering the cost factor, when you have an inherited, and you have all these suspicions, and you can do protein S, and also they say from, so protein C and others are less likely.
Yeah, we have to see the economics and we have to see, we can't just write everything what we feel like
Don't
writing.
write a panel.
Yeah, so this is the take home message, that don't write a panel of things, just you should know exactly what to write and what is the relevance of writing what investigation. Is it going to give you anything better, or is it just going to leave you where you were standing in the beginning? So what about the anatomical factors? What is the association with recurrent pregnancy?
There is definitely an association with anatomical factors, more in the second trimester than the first trimester, like Nita had said. And in the general population, you might find out 4%, but here in this population, it is about 12%, although the reports are very varied, from 2 to 40%, and that is because of varied diagnosis and varied methods of diagnosis in this.
And in the anatomical factors, we have the ones which are inherited, the congenital ones like the septum, bicornuate uterus, unicornuate uterus. We also have fibroids, acquired ones like intrauterine lesions. So all these have to be looked into, and do you want me to go into the investigation?
No, just tell me what fibroids are indicated and what other things.
So the fibroids would be those which are either indenting the cavity substantially or very large fibroids. Those also we would consider but not subserous. Only those which actually make an impact on the cavity and will cause an indentation in the cavity.
Exactly.
Even add polyps, they're trying to find polyps. And also in anatomy, I think cervical incompetence, because when you're looking at it, it's an important cause.
Yeah, so please tell us about cervical incompetence.
Well, cervical incompetence is a clinical diagnosis combined with ultrasound findings. Obviously, in an index pregnancy, it's difficult or hard till you have a patient who have a history. But now, considering
that we have more and more imaging and we have so much of advances, it's a woman who gives a history of a prior trimester pregnancy loss with the current pregnancy showing cervical length less than 2.5 centimeters or 25 millimeters is what is cervical incompetence. However, you can in fact diagnose these patients earlier if you kind of trust your vaginal ultrasound. That's the mnemonic we follow. You know that in a mid-trimester, somewhere between 16 to 18 weeks, if you do a scan, you should have a nice cervical length, a cervix which is T-shaped. But as in a woman who has a tendency to have cervical incompetence, there will be kind of a widening of the internal loss, there will be shortening of the cervix, and these will change its shape to a kind of a Y and a U, and then a final kind of cervix losing up and shape.
So the classical history would be somebody who loses a pregnancy in the second trimester, and this is a painless, causeless kind of a, with loss of forewaters or leaking. So without a provocation, that's typical history. So in such patients, you have to keep an index of suspicion high, call them from serial ultrasounds, and take from there.
Thanks. And the kind of factors formations are accompanied by cervical incompetence. Exactly.
And that is
exactly.
one of the mechanisms for pregnancy loss. So
Yes.
whenever there is a malformation, one must look for
One must look for it. Again, very important factor, endocrine factor. Ila,
I
how would
just
you?
want to add to the anatomical factors that fortunately we are not looking so much at the length of the cervix. We do a dynamic cervical surveillance. We look at the cervix in the first trimester and we try to monitor it on ultrasound. And those services who are showing the progressive shortening are the ones which are likely to abort.
Yes.
And then there is a role of
Yeah, so if you've been doing serial scans, you know that this is the patient who can, go in and she may be requiring a stitch, especially the high-risk pregnancies. You are going to monitor the IVF pregnancies or the patients who had a history of second trimester abortions. So you monitor them very closely and you are monitoring the cervical length along with that and seeing what is the cervical length happening. And a very good ultrasonologist should be doing it. Ideally speaking, the same person should be following it up. Ida, what do you think are the endocrine factors? Are they associated? If not, what are you supposed to be doing?
Endocrinological factors mean the hypothyroidism, thyroid disorders like hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism. Then diabetes when it is uncontrolled. Now both the disorders, whether it is thyroid or the diabetes, if it is well controlled, then it will not lead to recurrent abortions. But when the hormones they are uncontrolled, then they may lead to recurrent abortions. Then in polycystic ovarian syndrome patients where insulin resistance is high, family history of diabetes, obese patient, or it is associated with corpus luteum defect or the short luteal phase, luteal phase deficiency, then in such cases recurrent pregnancy loss may be there.
these are the prolactin hormone.
Yes.
That also causes this folliculogenesis and the short luteal phase. So
Yes,
it has to
it leads on to your luteal phase because there is an insufficient even.
Basically the summary is that endocrine factors are not a cause for recurrent pregnancy loss. However, in a case of recurrent pregnancy loss, this has to be ruled out because you do not want to add any factor to increase the loss.
Exactly.
That's the rationale.
And Nita, would you tell us something about immune factors? Any association with recurrent pregnancy loss at all, and what does the evidence say?
As per the current evidence, we don't have any evidence-based therapy available for immune factors. Like Dr. Kamila mentioned about lead therapy. I have no personal experience and I have looked at the evidence also. As per the RCOG guideline or the SRL practice bulletin latest, that will recommend me.
Yeah, you should not be going in for the testing for a routine. Infective agents. Somebody was very nicely asking about infective agents. Do you have any role? And is the routine testing justified?
In a case of recurrent pregnancy loss, no role of torch testing. For a torch infection or any kind of virus infection that long to be able to end into recurrent pregnancy loss cannot happen. And therefore, if you have infection, normally they are self and they will not persist one after another to be able to contribute to pregnancy losses and therefore it should not be tested.
That's a very, very important message. I think that routine testing for a recurrent pregnancy loss testing is not to be done.
High infection can cause sporadic loss.
But
So if there is hyperviremia or bacteremia or high fever, it will cause the death of the fetus, but not
a recurrent pregnancy.
However, the misconception should be clear at every forum that torch is only indicated if in the current pregnancy you are suspecting any eye issue or any problem on the ultrasound which says that there could be some infection. Otherwise, it should be really not in our itinerary of getting the tests done.
What about the male factors? So do you want to do a semen parameter? Would you do DNA fragmentation in a case of recurrent pregnancy loss?
There have been, reports where they have said that patients in pregnancy loss have a higher DNA fragmentation rate. So there will be no randomized control trials, but in ICT we do think that our results are poor that there is a high DNA fragmentation. Personally, would like to prefer fragmentation if there is a patient of recurrent pregnancy loss where I am finding no other cause. I would first rule out the causes which are more common and established. Also established, do see that the paternal side
Yeah, so they're very contradictory things. Yeah, please.
For my knowledge only, now that you are on IVF center, if you were to do DNA fragmentation there, would you do it after having done the genetic testing here that? So, and on what basis would you zero down that this man should have before?
No, I said well established test. Now karyotyping has its indications and is well established. So I would go in for a karyotyping here. This is not it has not been proven by randomized control trial that it is definitely one of the causes. But we have seen so much of the paternal factor affecting the growth of our embryos, the implantation rate, and especially if we take into plasticity stage, we know that when there is a male factor, there is going to be something. So in considering all that, I would say that in my practice, I would put it as a test but very lower down. And there are many patients who actually lead up and come and they say we want it.
Just we added the word added factors, we added paternal age. So you must not forget that advanced paternal age is associated with
Higher.
I will just share the experience. We had a thesis which was conducted of the and we looked at DNA fragmentation in men from couples who had rapid pregnancy loss, and we looked at controls who had fathered a pregnancy, and we found that the percentage of DNA fragmentation was higher. So it's actually a small, kind of sample size we looked at. But if you look at the recent literature that's appearing, we realize that the men got unexplained male factor, i.e., those where the semen analysis as by your W2 parameters are normal, they are the ones where they are subtle DNA fragmentations, which are actually not picking up on a routine, semen analysis. I think when you have everything normal and it's unexplained, I think that's the place where you should advocate for your patients.
No, not as a routine. You should carefully look as to who are the couples who actually need it.
I think if where the facility of DNA fragmentation is not available, thereby simply use the semen sperm morphology, which is again an important indicator, and that too by the WHO strict criteria.
Exactly. And what about the psychological factors? Do you think they have any role to play?
I think it has a very great role to play. Because as I said, in 40% of the patient you don't find a cause. And we say that the stress is a very important factor in present day. And therefore you need to counsel the couple and you need to explain them that if you haven't found a cause, then there is a very good chance to have a good pregnancy outcome in the next pregnancy.
Yeah, that's very important. What are the recommended investigations? For recurrent pregnancy loss, if a patient comes to you, what should you be investigating? How should you be investigating?
I would divide the investigations into pre-pregnancy, like if the patient has come in the interval period, and when she is already pregnant, she has come now this time. So pre-pregnancy, you would like to know the detailed hemogram, blood group, a VDRL test. I would like to do a blood sugars. I would like to do a very good ultrasound to rule out any uterine anomaly. Very obvious anomalies can be ruled out. However, if there are 3 recurrent miscarriages, I would like to supplement it by doing a hysteroscopy. I would also like to do the autoimmune markers, the acquired ones, and for the inherited, I would like to do a pro-group C, which can give me a pointer towards that it could be inherited from Ophelia. And for a male partner, I would like to do a good semen analysis, and in that, if we see that morphology is normal, as Milann mentioned, that there is no need to do a DNA fragmentation. That's in the pregnancy. If she has come to you with a history of 3 or more miscarriages, someone would say the patient has come during the pregnancy.
Anything you would like to add?
We summarize almost everything. And
so how would you evaluate a patient of?
Based on karyotype, we will take a history if the patient has had any karyotype of the product of conceptus, which can give us a clue. But if there are 3 or more miscarriages, I would certainly do a karyotype of the I would offer that.
Definitely.
the evidence says that if it's the third abortus, we should do the karyotype of the product. And if we find a unbalanced chromosomal anatomy structure, then we should refer a karyotype for the parent.
one more thing which I want to add here. Now, Dr. Neeta has elaborated about the pre-pregnancy investigation.
Tell us about the
So
pregnancy.
here, are we going to counsel the patient for PGS, pre-genetic screening?
I'm going to ask you just now.
So that is again a part of the
The role
counseling.
of PGS and PGP is very debatable. Nina?
I am going to ask you for products of conception, stereotyping for both the partners. I had it ahead. Okay, I'll ask you before. What are you going to do? You have a patient. What are you going to advise? You know that there is an abnormality. What are you going to do? Are you going to tell them to have a natural pregnancy? Are you going to tell them to get a PGS? Or you're going to tell them to adopt? Or go to with a donor gamete? What are you going to advise?
See, as far as PGS is concerned, what the literature says is the success rate of pregnancy is 30 to 35% after a PGS, PGD or a PGS. As far as a natural conception in these cases is concerned, it is up to 60%. So, you have to counsel your patient that this is it. If you are not going to be 100% pregnant with a PGS, and if once you tell them the success rates, they'll probably just try naturally. It's not that they can't get pregnant, they're getting pregnant. It's that they cannot retain their pregnancy. And they have a chance of a 40% loss in that. Whereas with PGS, it's actually a 70% loss. So you have to counsel, and whatever the patient wants, and you want
If they want it and if they are very, very concerned about it, you may have to.
There's another factor. It depends on the patient profile.
Yes.
You've got somebody who's in advanced age. I mean, she's close to 38, and she's had. I think then, and the patient understands the implications. Then the whole, volume changes.
Exactly.
So I think that's very important. But then, as Shireen rightly pointed out, if she has an aneuploid pregnancy, the next chance of the pregnancy will be euploid and much higher. So I think on the counseling, then you have to take that into consideration. Because this is not going to recur.
Exactly.
So that aspect is, and of course the cost that's humongous when you do a PGS.
Individual case has to be seen. What is the age of the patient? How many losses there are? What is the kind of profile she has? And see what you think is the most. And counsel the patient, tell them pros and cons.
The good news is that I'm just reminded of the case of the Alka Kubrani shared in her presidential talk that there was a case from AIDS where there was 20 pregnancy losses. And the good news was that lady did have normal baby. And even my own small practice, I remember a patient, and this was a time when immunotherapy and all those lit was very common, and we were thinking we are doing something very, very fantastic for that lady. And I remember after 7-8 abortions, I told her, just forget it. Thank you, sir, that you are getting pregnant. And I'm happy to tell that in the 13th pregnancy, without any treatment, that is the last thing, that you don't need to do any treatment if there is no cause. Just be assured that you are getting pregnant, so that is good enough, and she does have 2 babies after that. So I think at the end we can counsel the patient much satisfactorily.
How are you going to treat antiphospholipid antibody syndrome proven? What does the evidence say?
There have been other things in addition to the standard treatment. That is, it's well recognized now that the aspirin and heparin and the unsaturated heparin or the low molecular weight heparin, they are the standard treatment for treating these patients. Although steroids and other things have been recommended, but there is no evidence. So it makes life very easy that in antenatal period you can start with aspirin. When once the patient is pregnant, then you add the heparin or the low molecular weight.
Role of progesterone, very important. Who would like to answer that? What is the role of progesterone and what is the rationale behind its use?
So, the recent evidence and the corporate, they say that for a sporadic loss, progesterone is probably not helpful. But for recurrent pregnancy losses, there have been some randomized controlled trials which have said that yes, it is useful, and the usefulness is with an odds ratio of 0.38, which is quite relevant. And the way progesterone acts is the immunomodulation. It shifts from the type 2 to the type 1 to the type 2. That is the pro-inflammatory comes into play with progesterone, and that is the mode of action.
Exactly, it's an immunomodulator. Nina, please.
As on the type of progesterone that they use, again there are a lot of controversies. And what these randomized trials came out was the micronized response. Most of this data has come from micronized. And what route again is debatable, but I think the most accepted is the vaginal. Of course, the intramuscular has almost a similar results, but then the side effects of the painful injections is what takes the toll of the patient. As on because of the diabetes stroke, there are some trials, and there's a recent one, which has come somewhere around 2011, which shows that there is definitely a benefit even with the first round because the immunomodulatory effect of dydrogesterone is also significant in patients who have recurrent pregnancy.
Any role of metformin?
Well, I think when we talk about patients with PCOS, we really do not know the way it causes recurrent pregnancy loss, but definitely high LH and hyperinsulinism are the ones which are responsible. So in such cases, metformin should benefit. However, we look at the body of evidence, it's not very robust.
Yeah, exactly.
I think small trials are supporting, and I think at this point in time, we should look at some trials,
more trials
into this aspect of metformin.
Milann, what is the role of GCSF and immunotherapy?
Again, the role of GCSF is controversial. There are very less studies on GCSF whether it really supports the recurrent pregnancy loss or not, because still we don't have the very supportive investigations to rule out whether to give GCSF in these patients or not.
Any role of immunotherapy?
I would say no.
You would say no.
We haven't really say, but maybe personal experiences like
Yeah,
Dr. Kamini Rao shared, and she has vast experience, so maybe, but I don't have any such experience.
Unexplained recurrent pregnancy loss. Nita, what would you say?
I would say tender loving care for unexplained recurrent pregnancy loss, because eventually you have to counsel these couples that they will be blessed with a baby. So you have to keep patience and managing these patients.
These women can be reassured that prognosis for a successful future pregnancy with supporting care alone is in region of 75%, as she very rightly put it.
And also lifestyle changes. If she's drinking, smoking, the dose has to go out, coffee has to go out of the system.
It really depends on what is the age of the woman. If she's in a high age, she is more than 35 and she has more losses, then definitely the prognosis is going to become poorer. So it is individualized.
I just want to add one thing, Sonu, like we all see that these days when you get couples, because of the age of having the first child is increasing,
Exactly.
So when the couple comes, they have two losses. You cannot let them wait to have another loss and then start.
I agree. With two losses, you are just...
Purely individualistic situation. If you see a couple of age 35 and they've had two miscarriages, you won't just send them back and you say, okay, next time when you have a miscarriage, come back and then I will.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't. Obviously, anything else anybody would like.
Definition from 3 reproductive abortion.
Yeah.
To two, yes. This is what it has come to.
We always have to see the patient profile, what's the age and what's her mental status,
Exactly.
what's her anxiety level. And at the end of the day, one dialogue which really helps me in my practice is I always reassure them and tell them that they are still better off than those who are not conceiving at all, which is a tougher nut to crack. So the basic message in patients of recurrent pregnancy loss is, in addition to all the investigations and all the treatments, we have to reassure them that they are fertile at least. So that's a very, very big contribution.
Exactly. Very important part is to reassure them and to let them know that all is not lost. So thanks a lot, everybody. Anybody from the audience would like to ask any questions? Anybody would like from the panelists? Anybody from the audience, any questions, please? You could give the mic to anyone who wants to ask any question and clear their doubts. Anyone?
So at the end, on behalf of all the panelists, I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Kamini Rao, and we wish her all the best and good luck for her new endeavor in Delhi, and so for Dr. Sonu Talwar. And we thank her for giving us this opportunity to be here today.